Sorry ass DJ.
Hey everybody, how you doing out there? And welcome back to my continuation of the Big Three. I am on the part 3's right now. And when it comes to the part 3's, this is the first one so far. I don't know if there'll be any other ones, and we'll see once we get to those ones there. These are the ones that I like, all three of them. I enjoy them all for exactly what they are. I mean, even with the faults and all that, of course, they're all really cool, and they're decently equal to me. If I'm ever interested of ever actually wanting to do a triple feature of the Big Three, this one for sure I would have no problem sitting down and watching them, and probably in more likely the order that I'm going to have them from 3 to 1. And I don't even want to call this worst to best, even though that's what the general gist is when you do rankings like this. But for me, I would definitely say good to great, because I feel like that each one maybe just is slightly lesser than the other one. And I also would say that this is the only time when I was going through my writing everything down here, where I actually had to change my number 3 and my number 2, because I kind of kept going a little bit back and forth on them. I'm like, you know what, I'm satisfied with what I got. I would definitely be kind of curious, how would you actually rank these particular 3 movies? So let's get ourselves started. Number 3 is going to be Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. Again, I love this movie. This is definitely very, very high up in my ranking video, the Friday the 13th here. I've always enjoyed this movie here. Now, what I really do like about this movie is I like our final girl, Chris. And of the first 3 of the final of the Friday the 13th, she's definitely in the middle. She's much, much better than Alice, which I think a lot of them actually are. But she's definitely not as good as Jenny there. I just like her journey. I like her part of the story here for the most part. When she talks about the whole thing when she first met Jason, not really a big fan of what exactly Jason may have done to her there. I always kind of look at that part and just shake my head on that there. But I do like that. I do kind of like how the ending actually goes for her, where she just kind of goes a little crazy and mad a little bit, and the cops got to take her, and it looks like she's going to end up at a mental institution. You got this Cheech and Chong lookalike who's actually in the group. Him and his girlfriend, I cannot remember her name at the moment right now, but they're actually really good. I do actually get a decent amount of laughs out of this movie here. Steve Miner came back to direct this one here, and I think he still directed this very well. Like I said, not just Chris's story, I did enjoy for the most part. The whole story script was really, really good. Definitely enjoy the kills. I was always kind of back and forth on that there. But when I did the victim's death of this particular movie, I'm like, you know what? The deaths are actually much better than I used to think they actually were. Jason himself, get the first time getting the hockey mask, and he is very creepy. I really think that he does a great job. But on the flip side of this here, you got Shelley, who is probably one of the most annoying people out there. I mean, I even have some people that actually like Shelley and would say that he's the best character in this movie, maybe even the best death in this movie. It's their opinion. I'm not going to argue with them there. I think he was kind of in the middle in my list, I believe, in the victim's death. I mean, as a character, not exactly a fan of him. Like I said, very annoying here. You got Rick, and he's pretty much a horn dog for our main character, final girl. He actually has a somewhat cold death. He's the one that gets the eye taken, popped out of his socket. You actually got the bikers. I feel like that they're actually wasted in this. And then the final thing is when it comes to the ending of the movie here, you get the same dream sequence to a point there, or at least just before she goes mad and crazy. So it's like we've already had that in the first 2. Let's change it up a little bit if we can. Number 2 is going to be Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. I like the way that this movie actually starts off. You got this older gentleman running down the street. He ends up at like kind of a construction site or something, and he's banging at the door thinking that maybe someone's going to be there, and no one's actually there. There's a car that comes by, and he has to kind of duck behind the car, and the car ends up stopping and going and then pulling back, and kind of pulls in thinking he might be in here. I do kind of actually like what happens at the very beginning here. Tom Atkins, I think, is damn good here. I think that everything that he everything that he pretty much at least does his part of the story. Even if the movie's bad, I'm always going to be engaged with his character, and him being the main character in this movie, he is so good. I definitely enjoy the story. I enjoy the script. I definitely thought this was directed very well here. You got our villain, Cochran, who does such a great job. I would probably say that the only thing I wasn't a big fan of was the way he actually dies in this. I thought was kind of like, at the best, I would probably say here. The last 2 minutes in this movie I thought was really intense, and I really did actually like that. But on the flip side here, you got the Halloween commercial about the 3 masks. Oh, and I did I think I forgot to mention about the kills and what these masks actually do. I thought were really cool. Talking about the mask again, you get those Halloween commercials on these masks. And I will definitely say that it does definitely get annoying. I mean, I think even with Tom Atkins' character, I think at least a couple times throughout this movie, he gets annoyed. I think one time he sees it on TV, wants the TV changed because he's at a bar. The other one, I think the radio goes on when they're just before they're about to wake up, like the alarm's going off, and he shuts it off and thinking, oh my God, this stupid thing again here. You got Ellie, who is actually, her father dies at the beginning of the movie, and her and the doctor are trying to figure out what's going on there, and I just could not stand her in that there. And when we get to Act 3 with her, and pretty much the whole Act 3, except that last 2 minutes I just mentioned, it starts actually running out of gas for me. And then number 1 will be A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. This will always be one of the best Freddy Krueger movies out. You got Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, does such a much better job in this than he did in Part 2 here. Love the makeup. This is where he has that mixture of being scary and funny, and it really does work there. I definitely enjoy his kills in this. They're really, really good in this. You got Heather Langenkamp, who comes back as Nancy, and she's fantastic in this. As much as I like her in Part 1, she's a teenager in that. She's an adult in this one. She knows what she has to do with Freddy. She believes the people who are dreaming about him, where a lot of doctors didn't believe him, because she experienced this already there. The doctor that actually helps, he's really, really good in this here. All the Dream Warriors are really, really good. They do such a fantastic job. The setting of the mental institution or the asylum, that really, really works. The story, the script was great. I thought that this was directed very, very well. You got the whole Welcome to Prime Time bitch, which actually is one of the most fantastic things here. They kind of get introduced to a nun in this, and her part of the story really, really does work for me there. But on the flip side, I got to actually go with, at one point, Kincaid should have tried to save Philip. I understand Philip is a sleepwalker, but I always felt like, hey, Freddy's going to come in your dreams anyway. The only thing I guess you're going to have to give and take is that maybe Philip would have not had a better death than what he actually got, because I did enjoy his kill, like a lot of them in this movie here. But it just always bothered me with thinking, at least try to see, and all we kind of get is have a nice stroll asshole, and that's all it is, and Kincaid always goes back. And that always bothered me, thinking you could have still tried to save him. And then the other thing has got to be with Joey, where he doesn't talk throughout most of this movie, and he eventually has to save all the other Dream Warriors, and he actually at one point has to scream and breaks a bunch of glass and mirrors and stuff, and actually saves whoever was continue to actually live in this movie here. And I was just like, man, that is just so stupid. They could have came up with something better. Well, there you folks go. There is the ranking of the big 3 of Part 3. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys for Part 4 whenever that will be. Have yourselves a good one. Bye.